All right, good evening. I'm getting stir crazy in in quarantine, and I had fun talking on the video the other day, so kind of thought I might indulge myself. So back in the late '90s, I had an idea, and my buddies David Vance and Pat Abernathy can confirm this. It's about 1998 when I was living in Austin, and the internet was blowing up there in the mid to late '90s. And I had an idea that I called micro TV. And Dave and Pat and I, we emailing each other a lot. We didn't live together, although Dave was in Austin. Anyway, I had this idea for micro TV, and the idea was to just shoot little videos of entertaining things. And initially, my idea was little challenges, like a normal person like me running a 100-meter dash against an elite sprinter, so people can really see what that's like and what it looks like, and see the difference between a normal person and an elite athlete. And I had ideas like, and boiled it like the Cool Hand Luke challenge, a boiled egg eating contest against one of the Dallas Cowboy offensive linemen, which I think would have been Nate Newton and those guys at that time. Anyway, I had this idea. So basically, kind of like Al Gore invented the internet, I came up with the idea for YouTube and social media and TikTok and all that long before it ever happened. But I didn't create it, so don't get mad at me about social media. Anybody who knows me knows that pretty good at coming up with ideas, but the execution and application, sometimes don't get there. Isn't that right, boy? Anyway, so I found myself thinking about this again here lately, that and on several occasions, thinking I might play around with it, indulge myself, have some fun, see, maybe entertain people, if nothing else, entertain myself. And I'm thinking, maybe telling some stories, like from playing football in college, or being in the Army, or traveling around doing the Highland Games, or just talking to people, not really interviews, but just sitting and talking to people about interesting things, or doing challenges like those that I mentioned, maybe response videos. I don't know. We'll see what I come up with, and if people enjoy it, maybe I'll do more. We'll see. Who knows? Maybe I can become a viral star and not have to have a real job. That would be cool. Anyway, so the first thing I want to do here is tell the legend of the time quarter. Thanks, Cooper. That's my dog. Hey, that's enough. My dog's drinking. He's loud. Tell the story, the legend of the time quarter at Austin College. The Austin College Kangaroos. Yeah, I was there. I played football 90 to 93, and I was an offensive lineman. And I was a light offensive lineman, about 6'1", 235, but I was pretty lean. And I think I had the best squad on the team. But our coach, Mel Churchma, who was the coach there, he believed that a timed quarter could tell you more about a football player than a timed 40. And if anybody's ever run a timed quarter, he was onto something there. And this was big time TIAA, NAIA Division II football. TIAA was the conference we were in. People playing football there play because they love football, not because they were getting scholarships or money. At least that's what we told ourselves. Anyway, it was always one of those things, man, every year. So we would run a time quarter to start spring training, or run a time quarter to start two-a-days in August. And man, it was misery. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. All day, and even days leading up to it, you have butterflies in your stomach, because it's just gonna hurt. It's gonna suck so bad. If you ever run a time quarter, you know. And again, we're football players. Now, some of the D-backs and receivers and running backs, they ran track also, but linebackers, offensive linemen, we didn't mess around with a time 400. We didn't run like that. Anyway, at the time, I was about 6'1", about 235. I was pretty lean, so I would run with either the backs or the linebackers. Mostly linebackers or defensive ends. I didn't run with the other offensive or defensive linemen normally. But man, just back to that notion of the misery, nothing bonds people like shared misery. That's why being in the military and embracing the suck, and all you veterans, people who serve know what I'm talking about, and going into combat, serving in combat. That's why veterans are knit in a way and have a relationship and camaraderie in a way that just doesn't make sense to most people. But it comes back down to the shared misery. Anyway, so it was always a great time. Hated it, but we loved it. I remember there's a guy named Staley Schiller. He played center my junior year. Staley was about 6'5". He looked like like Howie Long, but Howie Long if he had a tapeworm. And all you guys who played with this know what I'm talking about. He was 6'5", I think he was 215, maybe 220. Again, big time football. But Staley had a unique running style. He would run and he would kick his feet, high kicking like a prancing pony. And he said that he had a coach who told him one time that if you kick your feet out like that, it'll carry you around the track. I don't know. And another guy who stands out was a guy named Keith Williford. Keith Williford was an offensive tackle. I think he was the right tackle. Anyway, he was probably one of the biggest guys on the team. I think he was about 6'2", about 280. He had a 400-plus bench. He was a big boy. And running a time quarter was not enjoyable. But Keith was notorious for, we'd take off and stagger start. He'd run the first turn down the straightaway. He'd take the second turn. He was notorious for cutting and trying to cut off and run through the infield as much as he could get away with, just trying to save a little time off his couple seconds off his time and save himself a little of the trip. Anyway, there was, I think the best time I ever saw was a guy named Rhett Box, who was he was a fullback. I think he ran a low 50, like a 51 or 52. There's Kevin, it's a receiver, wasn't it? Kevin, he might have run a 49. Anyway, so the story that I'm gonna tell you guys, now that I've already wasted 6 minutes and haven't even gotten my story, involves a guy named John Womack. John Womack was a year ahead of me. He was a linebacker, inside linebacker. And he and Rodney Womack, they were not related. And you guys who played with this, and anybody who knows these guys know, one's dark-haired, one's blonde. They both look like cavemen. But good guys, and the kind of guys you'd want on your team with you. In fact, John, after he graduated, somewhere along the line, he enlisted or joined the Army and served as an officer and did some combat deployments as well, which tells you what kind of guy he was. Anyway, so this would have been probably before my junior year. Again, I'm getting old. My memory's a little shot, but I ran in a heat with John, and I would think I was like lane 2, maybe 3, and he was 3 or 4. He was a couple lanes out. Stagger start. So we take off. And I had a plan. My one was to get a good start, take it through the first turn, carry it down the back way, straight away, and then kick it and lean and get a good curve and just try to drive home, right? That was my approach, with all my track experience and running time 400s. Anyway, so we take off, and I don't know if I took off faster than I meant to or what, but as we came around the curve and we closed into the back straightaway, John was kind of right in front of me. And by the way, there's some cursing in this story, so earmuffs if you can't handle it. But I got a wild hair in my ass, so I was like, fuck it. And I just took off. And as I passed John, I said, let's race, motherfucker. And I was just cruising down the back straightaway. Man, I was gone. I was like, the rambling wreck. I came around, I took that turn, and I was leaning. Boy, I was stepping it, just flying. And as I came out of the curve, I came into this straightaway, and I could see the finish line, and the thought went through my mind, just relax and stride it out. Well, as soon as I thought relaxed, my legs just died. And I was like just fighting everything I could to get to the finish line. And right as I'm coming to the finish line dying, a step away, John passes me and says, fuck you, bitch, and runs across. Excuse me. And man, that's one of my favorite memories of football. And I think we both turned in our best times. We were in like a 60 flat right there. But we laughed after that. I don't know, nobody puked, but it was horrible. We laughed. And to this day, that's one of my fondest memories of playing college football. Anyway, there's my first story for Mike's Micro TV Redux. I don't know, we'll see. If you like the story, share. I'm going to tag all the people I named in it so I can try to get a little action out there from people watching it. Anyway, hope you guys are all doing well. Have a good night, and I'll try to get another story out here before too long.